franchisor shouldn't make any money at all on the initial fee. It should be for setup
Really?
only. And that, I think that's quite typical of a new business startup. You're not going to come into business tomorrow and get clients the next day. It just doesn't work like that. Really good run care businesses, especially under established brands, go for a lot of money, a lot more than 100,000. I think it's just been very choosy, Darren, about who you bring in. Don't give your franchise to somebody who waives the initial fee check at you.
On this week's episode of The Engaging Marketeer, I'm speaking to Cheryl White from Apollo Care. Cheryl is a franchise consultant for other businesses, and she franchised Apollo Care many years ago and now has a number of franchises based across the Northwest, Wales, and the South. So I'm going to be asking Cheryl how she managed to franchise Apollo Care, what challenges she faced, what advice she has for other people, and find out a little bit more about some of the businesses she's helped franchise across the UK. Franchising. What would you say is the main benefit to somebody in becoming a franchisee of a business, whether it's Apollo or any type of business?
So I think becoming one of a franchisee of a business it's all about support and guidance, Darren, on how you're going to run that business. And what we find is that a lot of people who come to us to start care companies have actually got no experience in care at all.
Mm.
They see it as a really good business opportunity, but obviously, as the founders of that business, we need to make sure that they align with our values and the company culture and what they're actually looking to build there. But somebody looking to start a business, I would always recommend looking at franchises first because it just gives you that little step up the ladder to be able to sort of, you're coming in with that ready-made business plan, that blueprint and that team behind you before you even begin.
Mm. And is it easy for a business to franchise itself?
I would say yes and no to that question. So I'm also a
Classic, I
fan.
like it.
Oh yeah, I'm also a franchise consultant as well. So I work with three businesses every year to help them to franchise their business with me and the team. And the business model to me, Darren, is really simple. The business model can be fitted into, I would say, 90% of businesses out there. Um, but it would just be the commitment and the time that the person franchising their business, who would then become a franchisor, understands that they need to commit to that. I think sometimes some of the things that happen is people think, oh, I'll franchise my business and then it'll all just grow and I'll have brand exposure and everything else. But there's a lot of things that you need to put in place in the background to make that work.
Mm.
So the model for me is really, really simple. It's a simple model. It's a rinse and repeat model, and it's a very lucrative model. But the franchisor needs to really put that effort in for at least the first 3 years to build up that brand reputation.
Mm. So I see this a lot with businesses where they they've got maybe it's care, whatever the industry is, and they've got it in a particular region, a particular city, particular area, and they're doing really well, but they've reached a capacity they want to expand. So the options then are to set up a new premises in another location and run that themselves and divide their attention,
Yeah.
or to franchise. What are the difficulties with franchising in terms of sort of logistics and expense?
From franchise and the business.
Yeah.
I think so obviously, if you're going to work with a franchise consultant, you would pay an upfront fee and then they would help you to get everything in place for that. I look at franchising as kind of it's growing and developing your business using other people's money. So people are investing into you and your brand, and then you're taking that investment and helping them to grow a business in that particular area. So for me, there's less risk in doing that. There's less risk financially than going in and starting your own business there, because it's somebody else is putting in that financial capital risk there to be able to start that business. And I think as well, somebody who is going to set a business up within their own area are more likely to be successful because they're going to have those contacts there anyway. So if I was sort of looking to, when I had Apollo and it started in Wirral, if I was then looking, say, to go to Manchester with Apollo, I would have no contacts there at all. I've never traded in Manchester. I've probably visited there about 4 times ever. Where somebody who comes in and buys the franchise there, that's where they live, that's where they've grown up, that's where they've worked, so they've got all of those contacts there. So I would say it's financially more viable to franchise and
Mm.
set them businesses up via the franchise model than it is for sort of self-management expansion. I think it's much easier and safer to do it that way.
So it's a more cost-effective and
Yeah,
quicker way to expand a business.
I think so, definitely. Yeah. And if you want to get that brand exposure and that brand expansion, that for me is the no-brainer way to do it.
Hmm. But if you've got a business, though, how will you know if your business is ready for franchising or if it's even possible to
Hmm.
franchise?
So when I'm looking to franchise somebody's business, so people will come to me and ask me if their business is ready to be franchised. And there's three things that I look for. So the first one, has the business been running for 18 months or more? Because we do need a proven business model. We need to be able to see that that business model works and that that business model makes a profit, which is the next step. So does the business make a profit? Because the business does need to be profitable for you to then say that this is a viable business model.
Is there a
Um,
particular kind of profit margin it needs to be making?
Not particularly, no. We can look at that because sometimes I'll look at somebody's business and what they're actually doing now. I might suggest another two or three income streams they could add to that to then help franchisees to become more profitable. And I do that a lot. People say to me when they work with me, it's like you take my business apart and put it back together again because
Hmm.
that's what I do. It's always a fresh set of eyes of looking at it. And then the third thing would be that the business needs to be able to be replicated in other areas. So you need to be able to sort of pick your business up and put it somewhere else, and it will run exactly the same as it would, the way you've been running it.
Hmm. What the thing that always worries me is from the idea of franchising a business out is why would somebody else want to invest in my business or invest in become a franchisee of my business when they could theoretically do it themselves? How do I know that my brand, the business I've got, is worth somebody investing in as a franchisee?
Yeah, so and a lot of that is from experience, Darren. So people will look at your experience as a business owner and say, do you know what, I want to tap into that experience. It's like with Apollo, I've got over 30 years experience in health and social care. So people who are coming into Apollo who have never, or even if they have got experience in social care, they want that experience, they want that team, and they want that blueprint to look at it. So when you're taking a potential franchisee through that inquiry process, you're showing them what you're going to give to them for their initial fee or whatever that might be. But then you're also looking at what are they going to bring to the franchise opportunity? What are they going to bring to the franchise network? So it's always a two-way thing. And with Apollo, we often say no because we just think people they're either not the right fit, they haven't got the passion behind what they're doing, or they might not have the financial stability to be able to come in and join the business as well. And we provide them with sort of cash flows, business plan, and it's not just about the delivery of care. It is the delivery of care is the main point, but it's also how to run a really sustainable business around that as well.
Oh, so not everybody that applies to be a franchisee gets accepted then. You'll look at
Absolutely
these
not.
people.
No, no. We do turn people away. We used to turn more people away than what we did accept people, but now we've really sort of knuckled down on that marketing message and made the financial the working capital really clear to people so that the people who are coming to us now, they've got all of that information before they even get on a discovery call with one of my team.
Hmm. So when someone comes into a franchise to become a franchisee, they'll pay a franchise fee, won't they?
Yeah.
Um, how is that fee determined by the franchisor and what is it used for?
So the franchise fee should be determined by what that package looks like. So we work with a franchise accountant. I've worked with them a very long time. And if I'm working with somebody to franchise their business, what we'll do is we'll look at the past at least 2 years management accounts. We'll have a look at that and then we'll see what them profit margins are. And then we'll look then at what we could charge for an initial fee and what the ongoing management fee would be. And then again, it's what you're bringing into that package. The BFA say that the franchisor shouldn't make any money at all on the initial fee. It should be for setup
Really?
only, which we try to do. So it's that initial fee should be to get that person into business for at least the first 12 months. And then what you earn after that on your royalty fee each month is what the franchisor makes their money on.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it was sort of understood, expected from the British Franchise Association that the franchisor doesn't actually make profit on the
Not on the
franchise fee.
initial phase. Sometimes you might. It just depends on a few variables there. But really, so with Apollo Care, we charge 36,000 plus VAT for a franchise. Um, and all of that 36,000 is allocated to different things. So initial training, residential training, marketing, software systems, all of the stuff that that franchisee will need to operate in the first 12 months.
Hmm.
Um, and all of that 36,000 is taken with that. And then we also have a cash flow budget as well, depending on, sort of the experience of the franchisee. So that cash flow budget goes between 80 to 100 and around about 104,000 all in.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay. And is there, for someone who wants to become a franchisee, you mentioned 38,000, did you say?
36 for an Apollo.
36,000, sorry.
Yeah.
Some franchises are a lot more expensive than that. So I
Yeah.
believe McDonald's is well over 100,000 and
You need at
Starbucks
least
is,
1 million for McDonald's in cash flow. So
wow,
it's a lot of money,
it's
yeah.
a
But
lot
you
of
do
money.
need to be really upfront with people, Darren, and we have amazing people coming to us to look at the Apollo franchise.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they just don't have the cash flow. They've got the 36,000. They've got that to be able to invest, but we've got to be realistic with them about, okay, this is how far your 36,000 will get you. We'll support you for the 5 year term. But, you are going to need things like an office premises, you're going to need a registered manager. So we've got to factor all that in so people are, very well informed before they sign on the line, so to speak, and come in and join us.
So how much would they need for cash flow then?
For Apollo,
Yeah.
so if they're going to come in and be their own registered manager, so if they've got that health and social care background, all in they would need around about 70 to 80,000. If they were coming from a non-health and social care background, they probably need about 104,000. And that's all set out in our financial disclosure documents. And then
Wow.
we take new franchisees through a cash flow exercise as well with all the assumptions and stuff in there so they can see exactly what they should be earning.
So is it something you'd recommend to someone that's never run a business before?
Yeah, I love franchising. I can talk about it all day long. Yeah, I would recommend anybody to franchise their business if they want growth and they want scale on a big, you know, I'm trying to find the right word for it, on a big scale. If they
Hmm.
want that, then franchising is absolutely right for them. And then somebody that's thinking of buying into a business, either they've never run a business before or they've never run a business in that industry before, then absolutely franchising all the way.
Because you're talking then about cash flow. There's a lot of people who start up their own business that don't understand cash flow because they go into it with no training, no experience, obviously, and
Yeah,
it's you make mistakes.
yeah,
You can even make mistakes by getting new clients, but too quickly and end up
yeah.
spending money so that the cash flow runs out. So how can someone come into a business like Apollo that is established, has all the procedures in place, and have no experience running a business and be able to do it? It seems like a daunting prospect to me.
Yeah, so we're heavily regulated by the Care Quality Commission in Apollo, obviously because we provide personal care services. So what we do is if somebody's coming in to buy a care franchise from us with no care background at all, we help to source a registered manager who comes into the business full time with them, who has got that care experience. We look for people who are experienced in startup domiciliary care businesses. So they would become the registered manager for that business, and they've got to have a registered manager under CQC guidelines, who were inspected by. And then that business owner becomes what we call the nominated individual. So they're responsible for the running of the business, making sure that it's safe, making sure that, the teams are well trained. So we guide them and we support them through all of that. So part of their cash flow would be 12 months registered manager fee as well for paying that registered manager.
Mm.
And we do it on a presumption that in 12 months they wouldn't have a client. I mean, we'd expect them to have a client by at least month three, but we always have to play it safe. So the minute somebody comes in to inquire about the Apollo Care business, we talk them through these expectations of what we expect from them, what we expect from their registered manager, and how that cash flow is allocated throughout the business journey, so that they understand that as soon as they come in.
Mm. So you mentioned gather client by month three. That to me would be even more scary. So they spent £36,000 to buy into a business. You've told them they need about £104,000. That's including the franchise fee, I
Yeah.
presume. Yeah. So the £104,000, they spend 36 straight away. They're spending money every month. They've hired a full-time manager, and they're at month three, and they maybe don't have a client yet. How do you reassure them that this is all going to be okay? Don't worry, this is going to work.
It's just expectations. So, when they come on board with us, we start what we call our give process, which is getting into business. So we
Mm.
take them through that literally week by week of getting them into business. We start the registration process as soon as they come on board with us. When I started the original Apollo Care, I didn't get a client until week five, month five, because I was doing
Really?
the marketing, I was doing everything that I needed to be doing. And that I think that's quite typical of a new business startup. You're not going to come into business tomorrow and get clients the next day. It just doesn't work like that.
Mm.
So it's reassuring them that this is normal. This is the way the business needs to be built. Um, our franchisees, so we've got franchisees now, and that's where we obviously we take our management accounts from. We would expect a return on investment by at least the end of year two, at the very latest, on that 100,000. And then they would be starting to go into profit margins. The businesses that we sell in Apollo, they're not quick cash businesses. They're very high value asset long term businesses. So
Mm.
what you're building an Apollo business for is eventually to exit that business. And if you build that business up the correct way, the way that we tell you to do that, you would not only get your return on investment, you would start to then see profit margins coming in around month 24, but
Mm.
also you would be building up an asset to then be able to sell. And really good run care businesses, especially under established brands, go for a lot of money, a lot more than 100,000.
Mm. See that's interesting what you said there because most people that start businesses don't think about the exit. They don't think about what happens at the end. Do I sell it? Do I run it down? Do I just stop it? They just think about, I want to be my own boss. I want to be in control of my own destiny. I don't want to be employed by anybody. I want to run a business. So the fact you're looking straight away at, we're going to start it, grow it, scale it, and you can sell it
Yeah.
is brilliant to me. It's brilliant that you do that. Have you got examples at the moment of people that have grown Apollo and sold the franchise?
Well, all of my franchisees don't want to sell, so they've all been with
Do
me
they
a long
not?
time because they love the business, they love the teams. I've got some franchisees who've been with me 12 years now. Um, but they do get their businesses valued, so that's something that we encourage them to do a lot. So obviously I can't go into detail about how much they're worth, but they're
Of
worth
course.
lots of money,
Yeah.
a lot of money, but they want to stay in the business because one of the ladies had hers valued actually a couple of months ago, and she was really surprised at the valuation. But then she said, "But what would I do if I sold it? I love being part of the brand. I want to move it up to the next, the next level." And we've got franchisees coming in now who are buying their second and their third territory areas with us.
Mm.
Because we do talk about that growth, we talk about assets, we talk about exit planning, like you said. Um, and I go to lots of different events, Darren. I was at an event last week, yeah, last Wednesday, and it was a CEO event. And it was really interesting talking to people there. And what I do see is that people start businesses, they try to scale them, they get clients quickly because people will recommend, and I call it sort of referral by association. They'll say, "Oh, I know such and such, so you send me a client over," and all that. Within 12 to 18 months, it crashes and burns. They end up in court. They haven't
Mm.
been able to deliver what they've said they're going to deliver. They're knackered, and it's all from not building on a really solid foundation. So when you're coming into a business, any business opportunity, you need to be asking yourself, what do I want to gain from this business? What is it, something that I want generational wealth from? Is it something that I just want a couple of £1,000 a month to live off, and that's what you need to be looking at before you invest in something.
Mm. And you mentioned investing there. So £104,000 obviously is a lot of money.
Mhm.
Most people don't have that knocking about in the bank. What funding is available for someone that wants to buy into a franchise and start a business this way?
So the franchisor should be able to advise the franchise potential franchisee coming in on that. So we have partnerships with a lot of the high street banks with Apollo. Our main partnership is with HSBC. We've got a fantastic franchising department. And they've had all of our legal agreement, they've had all of our financial figures, so they're happy for us to send potential clients over. And they will have a look at what they need. They know what our cash flow is, they know what that's for. And then the franchisee will sometimes need 50 to 70% of the full amount, and then the banks will fund the rest. But it's really making sure, we have to be totally impartial to that fund, and we can't really get involved in it, but we
Mm.
do refer them on to the banks if that's something that they need. But normally by the time a franchisee comes to us, they've already explored that option, or
Oh,
they
okay.
have got the money in the bank. They may have sold a business, or one of the guys that we're talking to at the moment, he's going through the inquiry process for Apollo. He's already got four different businesses and they get managed for him. So he came in and said, you know what, the capital, he expected that much working capital in there.
Mm.
And again, as a franchisor, it's kind of looking at the caliber of franchisees that you want to invest in the business.
Yeah. Okay. Um, you mentioned the budget that, sorry, the franchise fee is used partly for marketing as well. That's an area I'm particularly interested in. What types of marketing does Apollo do for its franchisees to help them get more business?
So we have a national marketing fund. Every franchise should have a national marketing fund, and the franchisee is responsible for their local marketing, and a franchisor is responsible for national marketing campaigns. So
Right.
the national marketing contribution is put into by all of the franchisees and the franchisor, and that can be used for national marketing initiatives. So it could be, just trying to think of something we do. Oh, yes, so we're on a marketing platform that we use called Lottie, and that actually brings in private client referrals to my teams. And the website maintenance is all through that as well. All of the franchisees have their own domain names so that they can build their websites and the CRM systems and stuff on that. From a sort of the point of a new franchisee coming on board. So they come and do an initial residential training with us, and then our support manager, Don, will help them with their marketing. So they're given a territory area that they can trade as in Apollo, and that's got sort of the marketing hotspots on it. So we've had the whole of the UK demographically mapped out so we can see where the sort of over 65s are, where the other care companies are, and we use that for the marketing campaigns. We've gone back to traditional marketing a lot now as well, sort of leaflet droppings working really well. But if we concentrate on one postcode area, so what we're saying is, we provide you with 10,000 leaflets rather than giving them out, do 1,000 leaflets in one area 10 times because that's going to have a better hit
Yeah.
than throwing it all at the wall and seeing what happens with it. Um, and also we have a marketing lady who comes in, she goes to their area and physically goes out and teaches them how to network in their area, so how to speak to GPs, how to speak to social workers, all of the different things. So there's lots of different aspects to the marketing that we do within Apollo. Obviously, I can't go into too much detail because it's very Apolloized,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
have certain packages that we talk about when we're marketing and what makes us different from other care companies. But there's a range of marketing activities that we do within
Mm.
Apollo.
Does Apollo make any promises to the franchisees or any guarantees of how many leads that they're going to provide them?
We're not allowed. We can't do that as part of BFA standards. You've got to be
Right.
very
Oh.
careful of what you sort of. We can't set prices. We can't promise things. We can't guarantee.
Right.
We've got to keep everything quite general within the legal agreements as well. But what we can do is we can show the success of all the franchisees.
Mm.
Um, this has been a problem for a long time, I think, in franchising, that franchisors
Yeah.
will come in and overpromise to people, and it's false. If if somebody's coming into the business, you've got to give them everything so that they're making a really informed choice of whether they want to come on board or not. So even projection figures that we provide, we will show that sometimes some of our franchisees will make a loss in year one because and there'll be reasons for that. They may have decided to hire an extra staff member or get a bigger office or wherever that might be, which is against our assumptions of what we would do. But there's always reasons for that. And you've got to be open and honest about it. And the reason that most franchisors end up in court is because of false representation. So they've got
Really?
to be it's just very unfair to the franchisee if you're going to guarantee things that you can't deliver on.
I'm really pleased you said that, to be honest with you, because I've spoken to two different franchisees of different franchises. I won't name the franchises, but one's an estate agent franchise.
Yeah,
The other one is a insurance claims handling franchise.
yeah,
And both franchisees essentially exited the franchise because they were told they would get so many leads, so many inquiries from the franchisor, and they got absolutely nothing. They
yeah.
just had to do all the business generation themselves, and that they were overpromised what they were given.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not fair. Well, people will invest their life savings into things, and you should take that really seriously. We've got an amazing team. I've got a brilliant national office team, and our team, what we could call our associated experts of lawyers, marketers, accountants, all of those things. And Dom, our support manager, really supports the teams in getting new client referrals in. But we will never ever guarantee because you just can't. It's not ethical to do that.
No, it's not. From our perspective at Engage Web, our biggest client is a franchisor. So we do the marketing for a franchise company that's based in New York,
Hmm.
and we do their marketing for the UK, Canada, Australia, and the United States. It's about
Yeah,
1,000 franchisees in
yeah,
total. And we've exhibited at the National Franchise Exhibition in the NEC in Birmingham 2 years
yeah,
running. And we found the fundamental difference between American franchises and UK franchises, because we've spoken to quite a lot of them, is that the American franchisors are fundamentally interested in growing the business of the franchisees.
yeah,
Whereas the British franchisors that we've spoken to really were only looking to sell to new franchisees.
yeah,
That was their core focus. Whereas marketing for the franchisees and growing their business wasn't something they were particularly interested in. I was wondering what your take on that was as a franchise
yeah, yeah.
consultant.
That surprises me because, so from our point of view, we take a percentage of a franchisee's turnover every month.
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
within our interest for that franchisee to grow. And we are very invested in our franchisees. We do an awful lot to help and support. Some of them have, their children have grown up alongside. We know them very,
Mm,
very well. We know them as individuals, and we'll always be like that. So we are very invested in their growth, and we put a lot of time and effort into helping them with that. We look at their P&Ls every month with them. Well, my finance director, Jules, will look at that and we'll do cost analysis. We'll do such a lot with them to help them to grow. Um, the only reason I could think of why they would do that is if they're on a flat rate marketing, monthly commission. So it might be that they don't take a percentage, they may just take, I don't know, £1,000 a month, but it's still, again, it's just not ethical for me. If they're coming in as a support, they should be supporting their teams with their marketing. So it's like a couple of years ago, I thought, you know what, our teams are doing such good work and nobody sees it. They don't shout about it because they're just heads down and they're doing what they're doing. So I then hired a videographer, Stu, who's been with me for 2 years now. And he literally goes out and videos the teams, and the videos he produces are just like they're just Apollo right the way through them. They're amazing. And the difference that's made to my teams who are looking for those private client referrals has been huge. So we're always looking for ways to help the franchisees to grow. And it's really sad that you found that, but I do, I have come across franchisors like that too.
Yeah.
And really, you shouldn't be relying on your initial fees to grow your business. Your
No.
initial fee is to get your franchisee into business. What your business will grow on is those reoccurring percentages of what your franchisees are delivering.
Mm. It may have just been bad luck with the ones we spoke to be honest with you.
Yeah. Are you
You
there this year? We're at the NEC this
no,
year.
no, no. No, we don't do it now because of those experiences. It just seems to be American franchisors are the ones that we're
Yeah.
success with. I think you see it on Dragon's Den a lot. That a business will go to Dragon's Den and their plan is to franchise the business, and they'll be quite open about it. They'll say, "We're looking to franchise. We're looking to grow to 18, 20 franchisees, and then we want to sell it." And that's their goal. And it's clear from them that they're not really looking at the return from the franchisees. They're not
Mm.
looking at the percentage or the commission. They're looking to sell to franchisees and then sell the business. So it may be that the ones we've spoken to in the UK are relatively new, and that's their focus, as opposed to a more established franchise that is
Yeah.
looking to expand and help their franchisees make more money.
Well, that's it. And every business owner looks to sell. I mean, I'll sell Apollo eventually. I've run it now for 16 years, so eventually I will sell it. But you enjoy the journey on the way as well, like now. Like I had a meeting with my team this morning and we've just been, we do all of those 1%, 1% gains all of the time. And we work with growth consultants to help us do that. We've just been looking at our new getting into business process that we developed, I think it was about 18 months ago now. So we've all just come together as a team and said, right, how can we make this 1% better on each section? So that's what we're looking at all of the time. And that's the type of things that light me up because I think, somebody coming into the business who's spent potentially £100,000 to come into business with us. I want them to be wowed by the first 3 months and think, oh my God, this business is amazing. And then
Mm,
tell their friends about it. That's what we always say. So we're working in the business as well, even though you are gearing up that business to eventually sell it, enjoy it and just, I look now at my franchisees who are employing staff, who are looking after clients, and I think the impact that we have as a business is huge. We're looking after thousands of clients every single day who are getting that really, you know, excellent care, and that fundamentally that's what it's important. That's what's important to us. It's that end client, their experience of what Apollo is. And when I do eventually come to sell the business, I'll make sure it's given in, whoever takes over the reins will have that ethos there as well.
mm. I've got a couple of questions there. I don't know which one to ask first. How many franchisees are there at the moment with Apollo?
At the moment, we've got 15 teams.
And whereabouts across the UK are they sort of spread?
So they're mainly northwest. We've got some down south as well. We've got one over in Wales. We've got a marketing plan in place now, and we're going to increase that to 40 to 45 by 2030. So
Okay.
we've grown very strategically. And it's interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he knows somebody who set a care company up in 2019. And he said, "Oh, he's got 35 franchises." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's interesting." I said, "Because I know his ops manager and they're having lots and lots of issues." I said, "So don't try and scale too quickly. Just scale, yeah, scale and
Yeah.
support."
Yeah, yeah, you can scale too quickly. I mean
Absolutely.
that's the big worry I think with franchising, to franchise your own business as a business owner to franchise your business. The more franchisees you take, the more you scale, is that you lose that control
Yeah,
and you potentially lose the quality that you have yourself, and someone else has to copy your procedures and
yeah.
basically act for your business and be your business. How do you get over that fear as a franchise consultant with business owners that want to do it, that they're losing control and their brand and that something could go wrong that they have no control over
Hmm.
themselves?
I think it's just been very choosy, Darren, about who you bring in. Don't give your franchise to somebody who waives the initial fee check at you, and that's it. That's something that people do. I done that in the first couple of years because I didn't know any better. And some of those franchisees that we've now exited out the business, some are still with me and they're great, but some aren't. So it's been really choosy about who you bring in as a franchisee, and all right, are they going to grow the business? Do they want multiple sites, wherever that looks like to you? But do they fit culturally as well? Are they who the brand is looking for? And I can normally tell within 5 seconds of speaking to someone whether they're going to fit into the business or not. And if they're not going to be a good fit, then it's okay to say no. Because again, as you've said, fundamentally you're responsible for looking after that brand, and especially a care brand. You've got to be really
Mm.
careful about what people are doing. And again, having really good systems in place. So we have sort of performance matrix, we have regular audits, we have all of the things to make sure the franchisees are doing what they should be doing.
Mm. So how does Apollo work as a care brand briefly? Because I've used care myself for my mother when she went into a care home, but what's the difference between Apollo and say ProMedica or Home Instead?
So Apollo, we obviously do the same type of job. So we look after people in their own homes. But what we do, Darren, is we provide a real holistic care package. I was a district nurse and palliative care nurse before I started Apollo. So I've done this a very long time. So what makes Apollo different is the people. And I always say that to anyone who asks, we've got the most amazing franchisees, we've got fabulous care staff, the whole team are great, and we're always looking at how we can not just improve things for the franchisees, but what we can do for the clients as well. We're always looking at different services that we can offer. And it is about people always describe us as the Apollo family because we are. We're very hands-on as a head office team.
Mm.
And clients that we get and that we look after, they can't give us enough testimonials. It's great, and when you watch the videos with Stu, you can really see that shine through from the clients that we're looking
Mm.
after.
Mm. So you have people and they go into people's homes for set number of hours per day or set number of hours per week. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. We've just launched a new living care service as well, where we provide clients carers that go in to live with clients as well if they don't want to go into residential, so that they're there all of the time. And Apollo, we'll never grow huge. We just don't want that. We want to grow, we want to scale, we want to deliver as much care as we can, but we'll never become one of the big corporate companies because that's not who we are at all.
Mm. But of course, when you eventually exit the business and sell it, it's possible somebody like Home Instead or ProMedica would be the kind of company that would merge or take over with it.
Possibly, but that would be my decision
Of
if
course.
I wanted to sell, So I don't, I have had this discussion before, and I don't think it would be to another corporate company I'd sell to.
Mm. But yeah, you must have someone in mind that you're thinking that's the kind of person I'd like to.
I have a few, well, yeah, a few people have approached me over the last couple of years over selling, and they do keep in regular touch with me to see what's happening and what's going on within the businesses. But I do have an ideal person in mind, an actual ideal person. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. I'm not ready yet.
Not already yet. And have you spoken to that person?
Yes, I have, yeah. Not about sale. That I've never spoken to them about sale, but if I was going to sell to someone, they would be the person. So there's
Okay.
a couple of options there, but they are already involved in Apollo, so it's not like they don't know the business.
Ah, right. That
Yeah.
okay. So yes, that's the best way to do it, I think. To
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because it's very popular at the moment as an exit strategy to do employee ownership trust.
Yes.
So you sell to the team because it's more tax efficient. Although the government has just pissed a little bit on that.
Yeah.
It's more tax efficient to do that, and of course you keep people within the business. You ensure the survival of all the employees within the business. Because if you sell to someone else external, you don't know what's going to happen.
No,
No.
no. And
So
that's it. And I've built this from an idea, so it becomes really important to you.
hmm. So as a franchise consultant, as the other part of your business, what sort of companies have you helped franchise?
Lots of companies. So I only work with three businesses a year to franchise because I'm just too busy with Apollo.
Mm.
And I always look at the businesses. I can probably franchise the majority of them. But what I do is I look and say, right, if I franchise this business for someone, what impact is it going to make? Is it going to make an impact on other people's lives? So at the moment, just as an example, I'm working with a mobile physiotherapy service. I'm working with a menopause coach, and that's online and offline that she does that. And I'm working with a networking company. So they're the three that I'm working with at the moment. Uh,
Networking.
yeah,
Oh.
networking company. That's getting more and more. I've got another lady who wants to come on next when I've got space who does networking. Um, so it's all different businesses. I've franchised spiritual businesses, bricks and mortar, fitness, all sorts of different businesses.
Is there any type of business you think can't franchise?
I think if a business is very, very reliant on the owner, So if you've got a business so just an example is somebody once come to me who does sort of face painting and children's parties, and I was like, the business relies on every booking you do, so it's not really something that you could scale, I don't think. So I
Mm.
have to say no to that one. So looking at it, I need to make sure that it's sustainable and it can be replicated. So Apollo, when I was looking at franchising Apollo, I had to take my ego out the way and say, okay, I founded Apollo and I've grown Apollo, but Apollo in another area could grow without me in it. So, and some of some of the places that we are, especially sort of down south, they don't know who I am. None of the clients know who I am. None of the care staff know who I am.
Mm.
The franchisee there is the face.
Mm. There's a question that's been on my mind since we started this podcast interview, and I've got to ask it. Apollo, did you name the business?
Yeah, yeah. So there is a story behind that as well. So
Okay, go on. Because Apollo is a Greek god, and he's done some bad things.
it has, but so I love Greek mythology. I love anything Greece. So
Okay.
I was in Greece and I was thinking about the business and was thinking what could I
Mm.
call it? So this is what I was thinking before I'd even started it. And I was on a boat called Apollo. So I
Mm.
thought, so when I Googled Apollo, Apollo is actually one of the Greek gods of light.
Yep, he's the shining god. Yep.
Yeah, he's a shining god and he's a healing god. If you look at more into him, he is actually a healing god as well. So I was like, okay, so he's the god of healing and light. So that's where Apollo came from. And then my consultancy business is called Mercury Franchise School, and Mercury was the Greek god of business and finance. Although I'm coming away from the name Mercury now and just doing it into my own brand name.
Mm.
But that's where Apollo came from. I was actually on a Greek holiday and I come back and I thought, yeah, actually I like it. And it's an A, so we'll be at the top of everyone's list.
That old marketing technique
That
from the
old trick,
80s.
yeah.
Yeah. A Aardvark and Sons. Yeah. So what's the I'm gonna ask a question now that you might not be able to answer. What's the most successful company that you've helped franchise?
Ooh,
Oh.
I think, do you know what? One of the most successful companies, and she actually sold 7 franchises before we'd even finished working together, was a decluttering company. So she goes into people's homes and helps to declutter their house or their wardrobe or anything they want to be decluttered, and they work around their mental health as well. So she says that when people clutter and hoard, it's because they've got a mental health problem. There's something's happened to them where they
Mm.
need to surround themselves with all of these things to feel safe. So she goes in and she does that, and she's been really, really successful with it.
Wow.
Mm.
What's the name of that business?
It's called Tidy Mind.
Tidy Mind.
Yeah,
And who's the lady that runs
that
that?
was ages ago. Her name was Kate, the lady who runs it.
That sounds brilliant.
Yeah, and I loved it. As soon as she came to me with the idea, I was like, oh my God, we need to get this out there. And she's just done so well with it.
Because that's really popular, decluttering. I mean, there's so many
Yeah,
TV shows about that sort of thing.
yeah. But what I loved about hers was that she looked at the mental health aspect of it as well. And that, again, when I talk about, impact, that's the type of businesses I like to work with.
Mm. No, that's very true. Because I've had I thought maybe we're talking about the same person. I've recorded a podcast interview with a lady that does decluttering.
Mm,
She's based not far from you. Her name's Karina Venn, and we talked about the psychological impact of having clutter. Because
yeah,
I confess, I am a self-confessed. I'm a bit of a hoarder. I've got
yeah,
lots of stuff, but I also get depressed by clutter,
yeah,
which is a problem when I keep buying shit.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when I see it all sort of, oh no, it pisses me off. So you clear it all away and you think, oh, that feels a bit better. But then you just make the same mistake again. So
And
yeah,
then do it
it's really
again.
interesting the psychology between clutter and depression.
And how it makes you feel. I'm the complete opposite. I like everything tidy, everything has a place. I've got 2 sons who drive me insane because they just leave everything everywhere.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, honestly, my biggest asset in my whole life is that my cleaner comes in twice a week. And even though I tidy up and I do what I do, she comes in and literally deep cleans everywhere twice a week because I don't like mess. I just
Twice
don't
a
like
week.
it.
Wow.
Yeah. Because it makes me feel, if I'm sat doing, so if I'm sat doing something like this and I'm chatting and I know something needs doing, I can't concentrate. It's just that's how I am. I'm very organized, so I
Hmm.
can understand that. And when I was a district nurse, I used to go into people's houses where literally there was like a pathway to get to the person because there'd be that much clutter. And it was
Yeah.
always people with mental health problems that had houses like that. And
Yeah.
there was always something that had triggered it. So when Kate asked me to work with her, um, yeah, I mean that she was probably one of the very first people I worked with to help to franchise about 10 years ago now. And I was so impressed by what she did and could see that need for it.
Hmm. I'm trying to think, what sort of skills would you be looking for in someone to become a franchisee of a decluttering business? Presumably not me, I imagine.
It wouldn't be me either. I'd just throw everything out. But you just, I think it would be somebody, you'd have to have somebody very empathetic who could sit and talk. And she was
Definitely
saying
not me.
sometimes, no, sometimes it might be just like they might throw like three things away in like a month. But for them, that's a massive big thing.
Hmm.
But it could not, she said it's not always that. It can be somebody who's just really busy and they say, do you know what? I haven't decluttered my kitchen cupboards for 2 years. Can somebody just come in and do them for me? So there's different, different ends of the scale.
Yeah, I constantly catch myself putting something down on the when I walk in the front door. I've got like a window shelf to the right. I put something down and say, "I'll put that there for now," and I hear myself saying it. I'll just put that there for now, and I know that's going to be there in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
I touch it, but I just can't stop myself doing it. I know I'm doing it, but it's just not happening.
Yeah. It's like I put the boys' football boots and trainers on the stairs, thinking that they'll take them up. And they'll
Yeah.
sit
Oh,
there for about two
that old
days.
chestnut. Yeah.
And then in the end, I get them and take them up. So I think, why don't I just do it? Because I know they're never going to do it because I always do it. So
Mm. And I say, what's your? Well, I asked for the most successful, but I mean, have you got a favorite business that you franchised other than that one?
a favourite. Yeah, I have. So I franchised a lady's business last year. She's Wirral based, and it's called New Barn. She's based in Oxton Village, and she does holistic therapies. She's just opened a CIC on the Wirral as well, where she helps she cooks nutritious food for people who can't afford to eat, you know, um, sort of properly and nutritious food. So she does lots of charity work, but she's got a beautiful salon in Oxton Village as well, and I franchised that last year, and I love
Hmm.
franchising that. She makes all of her own products as well. Very, very clever.
Oh, she makes her own products, but she's
Makes
franchised.
So she makes all of her own treatments, all of her own oils and creams and stuff
Hmm.
that the therapists use. So she's franchised the business now. So so what they'll so the franchisees will use her products as well.
All right, so the franchisees don't have to make the
No,
products.
no,
Her
they buy
trade.
her products to use in their salons.
Right.
So yeah, I really enjoyed franchising that. She's lovely, and I also love the ethos behind the business as well.
I guess before you started, so you mentioned that you were a nurse, did you? Did you run any business before you started Apollo?
No, I was just, I was on maternity leave with one of my sons who's now 18. And I was thinking, do you know what? I need to do something about the state of the home care on Wirral because I just couldn't get good home care providers at all for my patients. And I thought, what if I done it myself? What if I just built a little business, had
Hmm.
about 30 clients and still nursed a couple of days a week? That was the plan. And I did it. It took me 3 years to build the business and to, get it ready to start. Um, and I did, and I launched the business. It took me about 5 months to get the first clients in, and then it just snowballed from there.
Hmm. So you saw a need, basically. You saw a gap in the market, and you thought,
Seeing a gap in the market, started it, absolutely winged it for the first couple of years. Was really stressed, didn't know what I was doing, up all night doing rotas for staff and all of the things. But I would say that was probably the hardest couple of years of my life doing it because it was so intense. And as the business grew, so did the problems. We needed more staff, and then we needed more people, and then we needed more staff. And it was just,
"Hmm."
that's how it grew. It grew.
So you must have hit that point that a lot of business owners face at some point that I'm going to have to scale this myself or franchise.
Yeah. So I went in to see my accountant and she said to me, I said, I can't cope with the demand. I don't know what to do. We've got, people are wanting us to deliver care, but we haven't got enough people and blah, blah. And she said to me, have you ever thought about franchising it? And I was like, don't know. Anyway, I didn't even know what she meant. So when I got in the car and Googled what is franchising, read it,
Mm.
and me being me, thought, right, I need to find the money to do it. So I did, and I franchised it, and I've never looked back.
Wow. So who was your first franchisee?
Two of my care staff who are still with me today. So two senior care staff, they
Mm.
approached me and said, we'd love to buy into a franchise. One owns South Wirral and one owns West Wirral. And they've been with me for 12 years now into their
Wow.
third franchise agreement.
And when you're dividing up the franchise areas, because you mentioned South Wirral, West Wirral, and presumably you're still,
I don't have Wirral anymore, but there
oh,
is
you
a
don't?
Wirral team. I've sold that as a franchise. Yeah.
Right. Oh, so you okay? So you're just in charge of the
I
whole lot.
oversee. Yeah.
How do you divide up the areas? Is it a head count, a property count?
Yeah, so we guarantee over 25,000 over 65s in one area.
Right.
But I've had the whole of the UK mapped out using a company called Atlas Mapping, and we're amazing.
Mm.
So we can give people a demographic link. So if somebody comes in and says this is the area they're interested in, we give them the demographic link for Apollo, then they can go in and they can see what their area looks like. We do it on over 65s, but we do actually look after anybody over the age of 18. Um, so
Um,
it's but we had to pick a demographic. It would have been too fast with that. So we have picked over 65s on that on the demographic chart. But what we have figured out that we do a lot around sort of pricing and cash flows as I was talking about before. And we've worked out that you to have £1 million turnover business a year, you need 46 clients having a couple of hours of care each day at the pricing that we would recommend to have that, so they've got more than enough in there. So what
mm.
we want them to do is open different offices within that area to really utilize it.
So how many offices would they need to have £1 million turnover business?
You only need one office for that.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Is that your is that the goal you set franchisees that you can have £1 million turnover business and this is what you need to do to
We
get to it?
can do, yeah, yeah. So we say to them, and we've got this from fact, from other franchisees that by year three you can have £1 million turnover
Mm.
business. And then obviously looking at the gross and nets with them is something that we work with around pricing and what they're paying the staff and all of the things that we support them with. And again, sort of new people coming into the sector or new people coming into business, they wouldn't even consider that. So again, that's why we've got the team there to be saying, okay, you're turning over 1 million, but what's your gross and your net looking like? That they're
Yeah.
more important.
Yeah. As Theopathetis always said, profit is vanity. Sorry, turnover is vanity. Get it the right way around.
Yeah,
Profit is
profit and
sanity.
sanity. It
Get it
is,
the right way
yeah,
around.
but you've got to have a good. But I agree with what he says.
Mm.
Um, but I think if you've got a business that's turning over £1 million a year, no matter what, even if the profit margins are low, there's room to work on it. You can always work on it. There's always ways you can increase that net and increase that gross. But what you want to do is you want to be bringing in the clients, holding on to the clients and getting that reoccurring revenue, and then start to look at your other factors to really sort of play with your margins.
Mm. Do you know, it's so refreshing to hear a franchisor talk like that.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
I can see that you love it. That's great. And it's great from other people listening to this who are thinking about being franchisees that
Yeah,
not only do you pick the right people, that you help them, you look after them, you help them grow, but you also make sure that their profit is there as well, so they're doing
yeah,
it right. That's fantastic to see.
yeah.
For anyone listening to this that's thinking, do you know what? I'd love to be a franchisee or I'd love to find out more. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So to find out about Apollo, the best way is to go into the website, which is www.apollocare.co.uk, and then there's a franchise button on there. If you press that, it'll give you more information about the franchising opportunity, and you're able to book a call with one of my team on there as well. We don't use sales teams; they're all part of the team, the people that you'd be speaking to on there. And if you are interested in franchising your business, if you go to my website, which is cheryl-white.co.uk, and that tells you all about how I can support you with franchising your business as well.
That's brilliant. I will pop both of those links below the podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the description. If you are listening to it on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, or any of the others, scroll down. It is in the show notes below the podcast. So, Cheryl, thank you very much for being a guest on the Engaging Marketeer.